So meditation is probably one of the key ways for us to connect to our true selves. And we've all heard about meditation in some way or another. And so we've heard lots about it, that it quietens our mind, that it gives us peace, that it makes us feel better. And while those things are true, there are so many different meditations, and different meditations have different reasonings and different purposes. The meditations overall that I think are most important about when it comes to connecting your true self is about doing things that one's called meditative self-inquiry, one's mindfulness meditation, and the other one is kind of like a meditation where you kind of just let your mind wander, and which is sitting in awareness. So depending on the meditation you're actually wanting, if you're wanting to awaken to your true self, then I'd probably recommend those ones, and I'll talk about what they mean in a moment. If you're after meditation to have more peace, then you can do any meditation you like. You might do guided meditation. It's really up to you. But really, for meditating, it's really important to kind of understand what is my motivation for meditation. Because the motivation for it is going to help you understand which meditation you want to partake in. So overall, when it comes to meditating, one of the main issues I find people have is they say, I've got to keep my mind quiet. And because I can't keep my mind quiet, I can't do it. And that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions about meditation, is trying to keep our mind quiet. Our mind's not designed to be quiet. Our mind's designed to be talkative, to be chatty, to be constantly running. It's a machine that keeps going and going and going. So if you're trying to expect it to stop, and then when it doesn't stop, you think you're failing, then you've failed already. The failure is your expectation, not the fact that your mind didn't stop. So if you can really recognize that while you're meditating, it's okay that your mind does what it does. It's okay. Part of it is being understanding and aware of what it does, and we'll get to that part in a moment. Other people find it really, really hard to sit still when they're meditating. They find that stillness makes it too hard for them. And that's okay too. You don't have to rush into sitting still, even though that's probably the more effective way for a good majority of people. So you can meditate by walking. You can meditate while you're ironing or doing chores. You can meditate while eating. You can meditate while sitting outside or gardening, painting, singing. Any activity that you find helps you feel more centered and calm is a way to connect back to your true self, and it can be deemed as a meditation. So overall, when you think of meditating, it's more about finding peace with yourself and finding connection to yourself. That's the way that I look at it. And so the first meditation, like I mentioned before, would be to do a meditation called Meditative Self-Inquiry. It sounds all fancy, but it's quite simple. So what meditative self-inquiry is about sitting in stillness. That's the first step. The first step is sit in stillness. And part of the stillness, you can close your eyes. If you feel better, you can focus on your breath if you feel like your mind wandered way too much for yourself. But you're sitting in stillness. And as you're sitting in stillness, you're going to find that your mind says certain things. It's going to be saying, oh, I'm tired, or I'm happy, or I'm exhausted, or what do I have to do next? You're going to hear that your mind says I a lot. And our job is, when our mind says I a lot, is to ask, who am I? Or what is this I that my mind is talking about? You know, is my mind, the I we usually attach it to is usually our gender, our beliefs, our personality traits, our emotions, our body, our sensations, and our life roles. So a lot of times our mind will say those things. So the first question we really ask is, who am I? Once you've asked that question, and really when you find the I, whenever you hear the I, say, oh, I've got to go there. You say, well, which part of me has to go there? Who is this I that I'm talking about? And then what we want to do after that with the second question is ask the question, what remains when those thoughts about myself change or disappear? So what remains when I don't think of the I, or when the I goes? What remains when my emotion's gone? So if I'm sad, then what remains when the sadness goes? And what we'll find more and more as we question this is that we become more and more aware that the answer to this points to our inner awareness. Our inner awareness that is always present. And that inner awareness is our true self. It's the unchanging presence behind all of our thoughts, all of our emotions, and all of our experiences. And the more you do that meditation, there's a high chance that you could just awaken to that realization at any given moment. So that would be one I'd definitely suggest to practice. The next meditation would be a mindfulness meditation. And the mindfulness meditation really helps us connect to our true self because it's a practice of sitting in awareness. And in this awareness, what we're doing is we're sitting in the present moment in a non-judgmental way. And our job is to focus on our breath. It could be our breath, most likely the breath could be our focus on a sound. I might hear the sound of the air conditioning. Or I might focus on a smell. I might smell roses and just focus on that smell. So it's usually focusing on one of our five senses. And then what our job is to do is whenever my mind gets taken off from what I'm focusing on, so if I'm focusing on my breath, then if my mind gets distracted from my breath, what my job is to do is recognize, oh, my mind went to the sound in the garden next door. I'm going to bring my attention back to my breath. And the more you do that, you'll find that your attention comes back easier and easier. You just get better at catching when you get distracted. More importantly than getting distracted by sounds, though, is really understanding when I get distracted by thoughts or feelings. So it might be that I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to be over there. So oh, there's a thought there. Then let me just come back to my breathing. Oh, I feel an ache in my knee. Yes, there's a pain there. How can I come back to my breathing? Also, I feel sadness. I feel like a heaviness in my stomach from sadness. Yes, that's there. Can I just focus on my breath while it's there? So mindfulness is about bringing your awareness to one part of the present moment generally, and when it gets distracted, just coming back each and every time. So it's about not controlling what's going on, but just allowing it to be and be the observer of what's going on. And the more we practice sitting in that awareness, we're practicing sitting as our true self. We're sitting from a disconnected state that is not getting carried away by our thoughts and feelings at every given moment. And that helps us then decide how we move forward from our true self. The last meditation that I really suggest to help you awaken or become enlightened or move towards enlightenment anyway is one where we just sit as awareness. And so what this meditation is, it's really just about sitting still and sitting quietly and allowing your attention to wander to wherever it wants to go. So my mind might wander to something that happened to me 3 years ago. Sure, my mind went there. I'm just going to notice it and be aware of it. And that's okay. Just naturally let it go there. And then I might notice that there's a sound there. So I'll just focus on that sound. My goal is just to follow where my mind is going or where I'm getting distracted to. And that's okay. It's not about resisting it or fighting it. It's just observing it. And over time, the mind will become more still and you'll rest more and more as a pure awareness. So any time spent meditating really is going to deepen your connection to your true self. So the 3 meditations, like I said, I'd really recommend are mindfulness meditation, meditative self-inquiry, and the other one is the witnessing meditation or the sitting as awareness meditation. And 5 to 10 minutes every day can really increase your sense of connection to your true self, but also provide the insights that the true self is able to give you for how to live your life and the wisdom that it offers.